So my thoughts on this are that down the line, I won't put an exact number on this, but down the line, commercial drone flights will be predominantly driven by software rather than by humans. Humans will take a more of an oversight position, and these drones will be flying themselves.
Interesting.
This is Homer Simpson sat in his office eating donuts while the busy little competent machines do all the hard work.
Well, I just think there's a thing where we hope that there's technological innovation, and the real hope, I think, of humanity is that then an industry fosters around that and it creates new jobs. And so I guess what I'm trying to work out is, will this cause a boom in jobs, or is it just going to leapfrog again and they'll just be operating almost autonomously? I mean, maybe, as you say, the air traffic controller for the drones, maybe a job or something like that. And
presumably that would be so complicated that it's going to have to be a machine processing all the data to track all the or a very clever man or woman.
I mean, this debate is not confined to the drone industry.
No,
I mean,
of course. Well,
there are 3 million people in the US who make their livelihoods by driving
the trucks.
And that's an even bigger question. What happens to these 3 million people, nearly 1% of the US population?
But you're almost the R&D. I think that's why it works so well with the insurance industry, is they could sort of reskin and reevaluate the model around something new, uncharted and exciting that didn't have a classification for it. So you almost become the thought experiment where we can start to ask these questions, because it's quite difficult around AI because you're dealing with software. It's often something you can't see. Drones are so visible that we have a different understanding of how they impact our lives and how we don't want them to impact our lives potentially. Same with self-driving cars, I think, but maybe even less so with self-driving cars, because I think we may just still want to carry on driving cars for other reasons. I mean, nobody wants to just drive a drone.
Well, over 100,000 people do in the UK for fun.
Right, no, I mean, like literally pilot a small light aircraft to deliver goods. It's not like we're replacing those kind of jobs.
You're right. So Amazon, for example, it was relatively recently announced that they can now fly 100 drones with a single operator in charge of those 100 drones.
He just gets signals back trying to tell him where everyone is at the time. So
Amazon are permitted by the CAA to have a single individual with 100 active drones in the sky under that person's control. Because those drones are piloted by software, which is far more intelligent and far less prone to error or tiredness or drunkenness than a human being.
Yeah.
Very, very comparable to the autonomous vehicle space.
It was funny because we're so less forgiving of any errors that befall technology. So if 1 in 100 of those drones has a problem, we always kick up a fuss and then go back to sort of how can we fix this and stop this? This is abhorrent, but actually it's still, as you say, many orders of magnitude more efficient than a human would be.
Yeah, and drawing another parallel with autonomous cars, it's exactly what happened when Tesla and Uber actually have experienced crashes, specifically fatal crashes in the automotive space. There's a collective arm hurling in the air of, this needs to be banned, this doesn't work, we need to change regulations so that autonomous vehicles aren't on our roads. But if you actually look at the data, autonomous vehicles are
much safer,
already safer than vehicles driven by human beings. And that's at the, this is version 1 of what we expect to see on our roads in the next few years, and it's only going to get increasingly safe.
It needs one software patch and then the whole fleet can drive better, immediately. It's and it's like computers playing chess. It's once they beat us.
And these things learn from each other. So a single car experiencing a specific circumstance somewhere on one side of the US will learn from its experience and will pass those learnings up to the cloud, and that will be distributed across the entire fleet, and all of the other cars in that fleet will learn from the experience of that one car that's had a bad time. And the exact same thing will apply to drones.
It really will be a flock.
Well, it's hive intelligence, isn't it, really? That's what we're dealing with. Elon Musk sort of was talking about his cybernetic collectives of social media and stuff like that, but that is why I guess I'm trying to understand where the real control is in whether it's the hardware manufacturers, whether it's the regulators, whether it's the software providers, and to some degree, if some countries are the ones responsible for producing all the drones that get sent out, they define the hardware standard, for instance.
Correct, and you're alluding to a concept, or very loosely to a concept known as surface area, to do with the potential risks caused by a technology or by an AI. The more drones you have connected to one system, or the more cars you have connected to one system, the greater the potential impact of for example, a negative hack could have in terms of the surface area that system has on over the world, right? So whilst there are massive benefits of this kind of hive mind idea, whereby one drone in Arizona experiencing a specific weather condition can teach in a matter of milliseconds another drone in London, the corollary of that, the flip side of that, is that a single system experiencing a seriously malevolent actor can end up having a dramatically larger impact than each individual drone acting in a malevolent way in isolation. It's interesting you mentioned this, you alluded to DJI, I think, when you were talking about, if all of the drones were manufactured in one country. So, well, it is the case that around 75-80% of drones are DJI drones, and that's a Chinese company. And there have been massive concerns, especially in the US, around the privacy and security of the data that's being collected by these drones.
Might explain the missiling.
Well, haven't they advised people not to buy Huawei phones?
Well, they've actually gone one step further in the drone space in the US. The US military completely stopped purchasing any DJI products as a result of their fear that DJI were mishandling the data that was coming back through these products, and that fear may well have been well-founded.
Well, can we take it a step further now and take it to the policing by drones and the policing of drones by drones? So is it reasonably... I know, sorry. But I read it in my notes as like, what are the things that are going to change? And let's say an urban use case, I could send a police officer to the scene of a crime, or I could send a small quadcopter to just go and investigate that house disturbance, which can get there quicker. It's produced by the police with their software package, so assuming it can be embedded with safety and those principles. Because I can't see some use cases in the urban environment. It's not like where they scan fields and just do these big ordnance surveys and stuff like that. But security could be one. In rural areas, I could see border policing done by drones. If you don't want people to come over borders, you have soft borders. Yeah, exactly. Where you might just try to catch people, rather than building a wall, you can just have drones policing a certain territory. So, well, firstly, you said it's already been done. So, what is being done in?
So, let's talk about the blue light sector, right?
Okay.
So, emergency services are already using drones here in the UK. We work with some of them, and we're in quite close contact with a bunch of them. They're using drones for really great purposes. It's very easy to focus on the negative side of the drone industry, and there are some negatives in the drone industry, as with any industry. But these things are being used to save lives. They're saving people in the water. There's tons of really interesting news stories about how that's being done. Fire services are starting to use drones to better understand a situation without having to put someone in there and potentially risk their lives. There are drones now that can put out fires. So, I mean, these things are being used for a whole range of use cases, for often humanitarian use cases as well.
But then, say, like with the rural border policing, is that happening?
It's happening.
Any particular countries? I mean,
I'm pretty sure there are tons of drones being used out in the US to patrol the US border.
Really? Oh, interesting.
I can't tell you exactly which drones they are. I don't know.
Because also then you have the first responder question, don't you? As you say, you've got them putting out fires. It seems a lot of the current use cases involve visibility, lines of sight, reporting back. So once you see somebody go over the border, where does the line go where you can say, I can inform a human, or I can intercept them now and tell them that they've been caught? And then at what point do you say, well, actually, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a whole new conversation as you're alluding to, kind of autonomous weapons potentially.
Well, didn't the Russians talk about the Fedor bots? Was that the one that they were scaring everybody with, that they were developing some robot? I mean, it's funny because you look back at Terminator as an example and you think, well, it's not going to be land-based walking robots that will cause problems. But air superiority has always been something that's, afforded a country a massive advantage. So it's just where we draw the lines. Different countries obviously have different, if it was North Korea, do they want to stop somebody from, they do want to stop people coming across the borders, so they might be, quite ferocious in their response. Just
as an FYI, you cannot insure military robots on the Flock Cover app.
No, fine.
we have deliberately stayed quite far from the military sector, specifically from a PR perspective as well. It's one of the reasons that the drone industry gets such a tough rep, is that it started in the military.